Romanticism of the early rock and roll, the making of the transnational corporations, the spirit of freedom and rebellion against society. Political intrigues, world outbound by the vice of globalization and the birth of modern business model. The time when money could buy everything and meant nothing. Hey guys, Coney here, and welcome back again to another episode of Love, Money, Rock and Roll. And I actually forgot the previous events that happened on the sixth episode of Love, Money, Rock and Roll. That is because I was busy on finishing the video that I've been working on for almost 2.5 weeks, I would say, for the second anniversary of Genshin Impact, which I already premiered it just a couple days back. And if you haven't watched the video before, or maybe you're a Genshin fan like me, or maybe not a Genshin fan or whatsoever, you can either just go ahead and click at the link in the description below, or maybe just go ahead and click at the top right corner on your screen. And I don't want to waste too much time talking in the intro, and I don't want to make the same mistake that I did in the previous video, because some intros that I have are way too long to finish. I mean, summarizing the entire story on the previous episode just to get the overall details for those who haven't watched the previous episode yet. But yeah, I'm not gonna do that. If you want to see the entire summarization of that one, just go ahead and click the previous episode of that one. Anyway, where was I? A man can always be judged by how much he looks forward to the weekend. If the working days of the week were spent on labor, if you're exhausted and just want to rest, then you treat the weekend as a deserved reward. If you don't care and it's just the end of the week, then you're a lazy deadbeat, was what my father used to say. I doubted he was an overly strict man. Rather, he was painfully fair-minded. Maybe he could no longer live under the totalitarian Soviet regime, or maybe his reasons were much more banal and mundane. In any case, it was far beyond the understanding of the small boy jerked out of his everyday life. I remembered being led to the airport by the hand, my father dragging a large suitcase behind him, a huge plane gobbling up passengers, then soaring away to the sun, higher than the birds, higher than Icarus, who I'd read about in a book of Greek myths. I didn't feel scared at all at the time. I guess I didn't really understand what was going on. Slowly gliding along the lush carpet of clouds, the plane looked more like a ship swaying peacefully on the waves. But when the silhouettes of forests, rivers, cities, the endless vast steppes and tundras appeared below, they for some reason seemed unreal, like I was watching a film. The airport in that foreign country felt completely different. The new city was like another planet compared to my hometown. Many strange people were running about, speaking an unfamiliar language, the lights of the billboards, the endless strings of cars. I held tighter to my mother's coat. It seemed as if, in just a moment, I would be picked up and carried away by this flow to a place from where little children never return. Dad looked tense, the vein on his temple throbbing from time to time. People were constantly coming into our cramped hotel room. Some of them spoke Russian, but I couldn't understand exactly what they were saying. And then we moved here. I would never have thought that all of this was just for the three of us. My old room had seemed enormous to me. I would build pillow fortresses, jump on the bed without even reaching the ceiling, and it seemed like the closet that Mom called the Czechoslovak wall held all the treasure in the world. It was considered a sign of wealth for Soviet citizens. Interesting. Alright, I can search on that one later. After that, our new house, to my mind, was... Yeah, I accidentally skipped on that one. Anyway, where's I? Alright. After that, our new house, to my mind, was a mansion or palace out of Pushkin's fairy tales. Almost right away, I met the neighbor girl with a strange name. She was way too shy and would never let go of her simple ragdoll. But she spoke Russian, although with a slight accent. She didn't know how to play cops and robbers, which I was very upset about. It was as if until I arrived, all she had been doing day in and day out was read her stupid books and with scribbles. Like, we had calligraphy classes in the first grade, and here, It was as if no one went to school at all. But there were cool pictures in her books, and over time I started to understand Japanese cartoons too. Not without my new friend's help, of course. She didn't stop being weird, but I got used to her. In fact, to me, she became the only one I was close to, besides my parents. And it looks like we're now getting into the early backstory between these two. Now, Nikolai was literally from Soviet Russia at the time when the Cold War just happened, and they decided to leave Russia and move on to other country, specifically in Japan, and then there they stay and work until he met a neighbor girl named Himitsu, which I'm completely familiar who he's talking to. And that's just the early part of the backstory. So we have to learn more about it as we progresses through this one. And naturally, I didn't look forward to the weekend. For me, the whole problem boiled down to the fact that I wasn't going to see Catherine today. The Catherine issue still hung in the air, and then there was my recent fight with Himitsu. Yeah, it's from the previous episode. Good thing I can recall that one, now that you mention it. I couldn't be two-faced. Couldn't pretend nothing was happening. Couldn't let things run their course. Both Catherine and Himitsu knew that. My lack of action would eventually drive both of them away. And while Kacha couldn't be driven any further than she was now, the prospect of losing Himitsu genuinely scared me, which meant I had to decide on something. I didn't want to think that I had to make a decision, because that would sound like a verdict. To top it off, I just didn't have the resolve to imagine that Catherine and I should be together again. Himitsu hadn't come. Well, there wasn't anything surprising about that. Even she had a line her self-respect couldn't stand being crossed. Was yesterday's fight the last straw? How long would this have gone on if Catherine never returned? Well, the answer will be on your, I would say, investigation, I would say. I mean, you're the one who started it, so you might be the one who will find the solution to your problems. But yeah, just don't include others who doesn't even affected by your problem, I would say. But yeah, I don't know, okay? I'm just speculating. After eating a half-assed breakfast, I simply sat in the middle of the empty kitchen, aimlessly staring into the distance. This was quite a problem life had thrown at me. Come on, life. What are you doing? Everything's been going fine. I said to no one in particular, just to make sure I wasn't sitting in a vacuum. Vacuum block sounds, warmth, love. Just like a child's heart. Excuse me. Ano, humuhugot ka na ba, Nikolai? Jeez. Anyway, moving on. No, I needed to talk to her, after all. There was just one little thing to do first. Find her. It wasn't going to work. To look for a single girl, even an American, in multi-million person Tokyo, was a dumb idea. Not to mention she probably didn't want to be found anyway. And we could probably see each other Monday at school. Excuse me. But I couldn't sit still either. First I stood up and started pacing back and forth through the kitchen, then through the house, then walked out into the yard. The feeling of powerlessness was weighing down, depressing me. I felt like a wild predator in a small cramped cage. If only I could break free, I'd show them all. These agonizing thoughts drove me further and further into the depths of dark frustration. Perfect timing. The ringing of the telephone sounded somehow very simple and mundane. Recently, I seem to have learned to guess who was calling, without even picking up. This time, too, it seemed like everything was fine. Hello? Hey, Nick. I hung up the phone. Really, Nikolai? Really? I mean, yeah, Kiyosaki was his best friend, but in matter like this, you know what? I just don't want to barge in any further. I just don't give a shit about his problems, alright? I mean, yeah. You know what? Just let's just continue. Anybody but him. Mixed with and in contrast to my melancholy, his stupid cheerfulness would create a grim cocktail, leading to the suffering of innocent people. Still, I needed to decide what to do next. Indulge in the aforementioned melancholy all the way until evening, or try and do something. I didn't know where to look for Catherine, but deep inside I desperately wanted to leave the house for somewhere far away, where my depression wouldn't reach me. Oh, go for a walk or stay at home. You know what? Go for a walk, since it's weekend. Right across from my house, on the other side of the street, was Himitsu's. Our district was strikingly eclectic, combining both the traditional Japanese style and the European mini manor houses like hers. Himitsu was half Russian, but I didn't think she'd want to live in an izba. Wait, what's an izba? A traditional form of housing usually made of wood found in the Slavic countryside. Huh, I didn't know about that, but I guess I should take a look on that one later. I would sometimes go to my grandparents' place when I was little. They had a typical Russian izba. Himitsu's grandparents, on the other hand, lived in the traditional Japanese paper house. A 0 out of 3 on the scale of 3 piglets, I'd say. Oh, hello Himitsu. I wonder where she has been ever since then. I think she went shopping or maybe... Oh wait, it's weekend. Oh yeah, okay. Nico-kun? Apparently I got lost in daydreaming. Hey, how are you doing? Himitsu was walking back from the direction of the market with 2 large bags in her hands. Oh. Oh yeah, okay. Fine. You? Me too. Going somewhere? Just decided to take a walk. Why? Nothing, just... She kept a minimal level of politeness. Minimal for her. Listen, I started merrily. Somehow, even to myself, that merriness was unexpected. I wanted to say sorry about yesterday. I don't know what came over me. It's alright. I understand. Really? I'm serious. I don't think you did anything wrong. It's all about me. If a girl tells you it's not about you, it's definitely about you. And what if it's a guy? What if it's me? Then it's definitely stupid or worse. You know what? Forget it. Weather's great today. Let's take a walk. You mean right now? Himitsu slightly erased the bags, implying that she has things to do. Yeah, right now. Is it the weekend or not? I don't know, Nico-kun. I still need to make lunch. You can't work all the time and never rest. And really, not only did Himitsu regularly make food for me, she also saddled herself with all the chores of her own household after the divorce of her parents. So let's go. I helped her and snatched the bags out of her hands with a quick motion. Oh no. Nico-kun. Himitsu protested, but her voice sounded reluctant. Too timid, like when we were little. Fine. She pouted and sternly marched off to her house. I was still thinking about Catherine, but decided to take a breather. I could postpone dealing with her to Monday. Although I couldn't just cast it out of my mind, I needed to distract myself. Maybe Himitsu wasn't the best option for it for many reasons, but fate itself seemed to have brought us together this morning. I didn't believe in coincidences like that, but many things in life were hard to explain logically. And there she goes. She's so cute. Here I am. Himitsu's sing-song voice came from the doorway. She could close the door and ran up to me. A happy smile shone on her face. Well, let's go? Yes, but where to? Where do you want to go? I hadn't actually thought about that. Because I would be fine just strolling through the streets if I were alone. I don't know. You choose. She stared at me with a serious expression. And that doesn't look like a serious expression to me. Maybe in different circumstances, Himitsu would have simply said anywhere with you. But not today. Definitely not today. On the other hand, the emotional part of the situation didn't matter much. I would still have to be the one to make the decision. Fine, fine. Let's go to the amusement park. I think you've wanted to for a while. Have I? Well, maybe I have. Well, if you don't want to. Stop it, Nikokin. Let's go. She playfully took me by the arm and dragged me along. Hey, easy, girl. I mean, yeah, it's weekend, so it's self-explanatory, I would say. Oh my god, what the hell is this? I mean, devs, you need to fix on this one, alright? If you want to make the game playable and also took a bit of notice from other players, I guess, on Steam, you need to fix on this one. Anyway, my parents had told me stories about blah blah blah, but for a while... Sorry. After my first visit to a Japanese amusement park, I thought that was the reason they had left the Union. It was a real world of childhood, a collection of dreams recreated in reality. These days, I barely found any of that interesting. Excuse me. Himitsu, however, seemed to be really excited, just like a kid. Excited about the candy floss, the roundabouts, even the haunted house. Yeah, I can see it right here. It's just kind of excited, I would say, but yeah. She whined. You sure you're not afraid? I'm not. I mean, I am, but there isn't really anything scary in there. I mostly didn't care, but the idea of haunted houses always seemed stupid to me. I didn't like horror movies either. Yeah, same here. I gotta admit, I don't like horror movies. Not to mention you have to watch a horror movie all by yourself in the middle of the room, all by yourself, with only pillows right beside you. And not to mention you have to watch the film at midnight or maybe where your neighbors are falling asleep, I would say. But yeah, just don't do it, okay? Just don't do it. You might be easily get triggered on the PTSD or maybe having nightmares when you're sleeping. Real life could be much scarier. True. And my life right now wasn't far off from one of the Hitchcock's films. I don't know what that is, but yeah. So you'll want to get scared even though you know there's nothing to be afraid of. Well, no, but... Difficult questions weren't Himitsu's strong suit after all. Let's just go. Niko-kun, you said it. Today's the weekend and you're out here grumbling. People must simply want to shake up. An injection of adrenaline to distract themselves from the daily grind and feel a surge of emotion. That must have been why horror stuff like that didn't attract me. My life was virtually overflowing with emotion already. Alright, alright. Oh, CG. Nice. The haunted house was filled with all kinds of paper-mache yokai. Yeah, I'm already familiar with this one. Werewolves, women with long necks, and other darkspawn from Japanese folklore. I wouldn't have been scared even if I knew why these things were supposed to be scary. For example, the drunkard raccoon seemed pretty cute to me. Ah, the Bakedanuki. I think I've already seen this one before. I mean, yeah, they're technically cute. It has large balls on their egg sac, I would say. No, okay, you know what? Forget the egg sac. Never mind that one. We were moving forward pretty slowly, partly because it was dark in here. Himitsu tightly clasped my arm and would squeeze it so hard it'd scare your moms that it hurt. You know what, let me share a story. Because in that time when I was at college, we actually had a university week. Well, an event where it would spend 1 week, including the minigame events like the horror booth, or maybe a film booth, or maybe a game modes like you can actually win prizes by participating in it. And I actually joined a club, and it's called Teatro Colegio, which is basically a club where you can do music stuff, acting, you can actually do prop stuff in it, in etc. A lot of things to do, singing, orchestra, and something like that. And we did join the university week. On my first year college, we did a reggae booth, which is basically songs with a bit of a reggae variation, and we made a successful launch on that one. And then on the second year of college, right before the pandemic hits, we did a horror booth, but unfortunately, I had a boils right in the middle of my nose, so that would make it even more terrifying since I'm already part in that the scary part inside of it. So we actually spent a lot of money to do those kind of works, but in the end, it's worth a shot. A lot of things worked out. It really pays off well. So yeah, and the time when pandemic hits, we could no longer celebrate University Week. So the only thing we could do right now is sitting here doing a bit of online classes and such, which kind of boring to be honest. But yeah, I kind of miss the old days of college. If only pandemic didn't exist in the first place. Yeah. Hey, was the scary part supposed to start? You're always like this. What about me? What matters is that you like it. Truth be told, I had already started to get really bored when suddenly... Was that a jump scare or something? Well, if that is a jump scare, it's kind of weak to be honest. But yeah, it's a visual novel game, so there's a reason behind it. Something jumped at me out of the darkness. I sprang back, dragging Himitsu along, and made a wild swing in the direction of jumping something. Wait, don't tell me you broke something. The ghost okay. No, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to break any properties while you're inside of an amusement theme, I would say. Just don't. If that happens, you have to pay the damages you've done. Just... Alright. The ghost cracked apart and sank to the floor with the distinctive sound of tearing cardboard. Oh man. And so when we can't see the CG of Nicola's expression that time when he got jump scared by the yokai or something. What? What the hell was that? Kijo. Wait. Are men eating only women of terrifying appearance? Okay, no thank you. Himitsu laughed. I knew you'd like it. What? Damn it. After that, we started moving even slower, with me now constantly throwing glances left and right, unwilling to die from a heart attack at the tender age of 18. That's not possible. I mean, that's too young, so I think there is, but a small chance that you might get a heart attack at a young age. But I can't tell. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a normal guy making videos and such, and I just want to make fun, something, you know. Didn't you say there was nothing to be afraid of? There isn't. I was just startled. It can happen to anyone. Yeah, sure. It can. I responded rudely, my heart beating like crazy. Fine, what do you want me to say? Yeah, I got scared. I'm glad. Glad about what? Are you a sadist now? No, it's just... She grew embarrassed and dropped her eyes as if she wasn't going to continue. Still, she found the resolve. I'm glad you managed to distract yourself. Distract myself from what? I asked, uncomprehending. But Himitsu's gaze, filled with anxiety and sadness, made me understand. You know, sorry for my behavior yesterday and all, but I'm fine. I don't need to distract myself from anything. Even the buzzing yokai in the distance seemed to have grown silent for a moment, captivated by our conversation. Sorry, I didn't want to start it all over again. No, of course. It's not about you. I mean, I said as much myself. It's never about you. It can never even be about you. What am I even saying? Nico-kun. My head suddenly started to ache, thoughts about Catherine rushing over me with new strength, making the pain unbearable. Enough! Please. Stop pretending we're still 7 years old. Was that it? Was this really what's all been about all the time? Did Himitsu desperately resist growing up thinking she could live her entire life acting like a child? Children are afraid of pain, of sadness, being scolded, of being shown their mistakes. They hate when their favorite toys are taken away. Children don't want to draw conclusions and learn, don't want to grow up. Himitsu, enough. But... She seemed to want to say something but stopped when she looked at me. Please, stop. Don't you understand you're only making it worse? Don't worry about me like this. I'm not a kid. I can make my own decisions. Whatever they are. Nikukin, please, don't. Her small shoulders trembled and the ghost fell silent. You can be with her. You can be with whoever you want. Just don't be like this. She was no longer crying. She was weeping, but I was too riled up to pay any attention. I blamed Himitsu. Blamed probably for too much and undeservingly, but at that time I simply couldn't stop. It's cowardly to shift your problems to other people and even more so to those who are close to you. But when you have no more strength left to cope with them yourself, sometimes there's just no other way. Or maybe I was just making excuses. I mean, Nikolai, you just need to calm down for a second. I mean, we're only on the 7th episode of the series and now you're making a lot of drama just happen right now. Yeah. It's sickening enough already. And there's you. You want to support me? Then stop prying into my soul all the time. I'll sort out myself and tell you my decision. And yeah, there she goes. You know what? Himitsu let out one last sob and ran away, breaking cardboard yokais on her way. And that's a lot of payment you can pay that one since. The door swung closed behind her and I was left alone in this comical phony hell, while the real demons were eating at me from inside. Yeah. In the last week, my life had turned into some shitty TV drama with a cheap plot. Unfortunately, it wasn't actually a TV show and couldn't as easily be turned off. Were I to continue on the same course, it would only get worse from here. And in a couple years, there would be nothing left. Only pain and void, like after Mom and Dad's death. I didn't want to lose anyone else close to me. And it didn't matter what I really felt. My feet carried me to the exit as if of their own accord. After running out onto the street, I was momentarily blinded by the bright sunlight. The contrast with the gloom of the haunted house was too great. When my vision returned to me, I looked around and noticed Himitsu sitting on a nearby bench, calmly eating candy floss. Nothing remained of the fact that just a minute ago she'd been sobbing violently. Besides maybe the reddish eyes. Yeah. Oh, there goes the music. Hey, I do remember this track before, but I just forgot what the title that is. But yeah. Good day. May I make your acquaintance? My name is Nikolai, I said, approaching. It sounded stupid and out of place, but Himitsu loved jokes like this. At least she had before. No, you may not. I'm waiting for a friend. She smiled as if nothing happened. And what are you doing here? I'm waiting for a friend too. She has red hair and often makes a funny face. Like this. I puffed out my cheeks and popped my eyes out. Himitsu laughed. Come on, stop. No, I'm telling you. That's exactly the face she makes. Nikukin, stop. I sat down next to her, although not too close. Sorry for today, and in general. Let's just not talk about it anymore. I let out a sigh, getting ready for a long monologue. Alright. Himitsu gave a short answer, still focused on her candy floss. I wanted to say that... What? That's it? That simple? Of course. Why fight if we cannot fight? That's true, but I just wanted to say I did the wrong thing. You don't deserve to be treated like this. I know. She suddenly turned to me and said in a serious tone, Nico-kun, enough. I understand you didn't mean to and you won't do it again, right? I felt a shiver run down my spine. Yeah, of course. And if you do, I'll bite you. He means to jump through almost half the remaining floss in one go. And there goes her smug face. Excuse me. Ooh, scary. I laughed while actually feeling a bit uneasy. Now let's go. I still want to ride the bumper cars. Bumper cars? Now you're talking. Maybe there was nothing strange about the change in Himitsu's behavior. It might have just been a defense mechanism. To isolate herself from the problem, to ignore it, to pretend nothing had happened. Meanwhile, I couldn't escape the thoughts that came to me in the haunted house. But the shame of what I had done, the memories of a sobbing Himitsu, and my guilt weren't letting me process them properly. Maybe I could do it later, when she would have calmed down a bit. And I couldn't even say for sure if Himitsu was vindictive. She never really resented me. Or anyone at all, really. A sweetheart, as my mother would probably say. Oh, look. Backstory again. Yeah, we're just getting started on the early backstory, so this might be the continuation. Himitsu would often get sick when she was little, and as a consequence, only went into first grade when I was already in second. At that time, I barely knew Japanese and attended school at the embassy. I liked socializing with fellow Russians, but at the same time, I felt sorry for Himitsu. She really wanted to go to the same school as me. After my classes, I would read her the books from my homework. She listened carefully and never interrupted, even though she could read much better and faster than me. And then Himitsu went to the same middle school as me. My classmates would crack jokes at me about us being together and all that. I probably wouldn't see anything wrong with that now, but at that age, the spirit of rebelliousness and contrarianism simmered in me, and I denied it as hard as I could. Which clearly upset Himitsu, but she mostly kept quiet. Surely she had an opinion of her own on the matter which was very different from mine. Time passed, our relationship slowly changed. I got used to Himitsu and, in the end, started to regard her like an inseparable part of my life, like a constant. But what did Himitsu herself think? I probably never really cared. The two of us were passing a booth where you could shoot a pneumatic rifle at targets to earn points. It's quite interesting to see that these two were together for a long time until middle school, and their relationship changed as well. But I want to know about her reason as to why she wanted to be together with Nikolai in the first place. I mean, Nikolai once started having a conversation with Himitsu, but I want to know the reason why Himitsu got into the social proximity with Nikolai, since they're getting closer together and up until middle school, up until now. So we might as well have to wait for that one to get the answer for that question. Yeah, I already read that one before. Enough points would earn your prize. Yeah, let's try it. Himitsu said with excitement. I don't really know how to shoot. Come on, just a couple times. Look, it's not very expensive. Okay. I took the rifle. It turned out to be lighter than I expected. Tried it and rested the stock against my shoulder and aimed. To get the maximum amount of points, I had to shoot the very center of the furthest target. It seemed like the rifle sight was looking right at it, but things couldn't be that easy. Could they? My finger trembled on the trigger. I couldn't make up my mind, endlessly shifting the barrel left and right, up and down. Nico-kun, shoot! Wait, don't jinx it. Come on, fire! I finally got tired of it, hit or miss, but it didn't matter. Oh. In my mind, the sound of the shot was supposed to be far louder than it ended up being. "Ooh, striking marksmanship, young man!" the boot's owner exclaimed. What? You mean I hit it? Well, fortune favors fools. You may choose any prize. Any at all? Of course. I look at Himitsu and her eyes immediately lit up with joy. Oh, I want the elephant over there. There really was a giant stuffed pink elephant on the far shelf. It was at least a meter tall and just as... Wait a minute. Oh yeah, it's giant. How could I miss on that one? A pink elephant. Really? It's bigger than you. Hey! Alright. Could you give us... Yeah, I addressed the owner. The pink elephant, over there? Of course. He talked in a sing-song voice and generally looked pretty amusing. Himitsu was shocked. Anyway, where was I? Here. It took Himitsu some effort, but she managed to raise the prize, almost disappearing behind the stuffed animal. Can you even see anything? I can, she said aggrievedly, and seemed like the voice was coming from the elephant itself. Oh my god, a talking elephant. I theatrically exclaimed. You want it, so you carry it. Himitsu handed me the prize and strode forward with a sprightly step. Carrying the elephant was more convenient for me, sure, but it was still a subpar experience. Truly, sometimes it's better to be club-handed. After a weekend like that, you need to rest from all the resting, she said cheerfully, stepping out from yet another attraction. Why do you think people hate Monday mornings? Because it's the first day of the week. Not everywhere. What do you mean? Well, in some places, weeks start on Sunday. That's nonsense. I don't believe it. Where? I don't remember. See, that means you made it up. I didn't make anything up. I read it in a book. A science fiction one? Maybe, yeah. Why does it matter? It matters because it's not real. Maybe that was on another planet. A different planet can't have a Sunday because it has a different rotation period. What does that have to do with days of the week? Alright, I give up. You win. Ha! That's better. A pleased smile appeared on Himitsu's face. Well, let's go home? Let's go. When leaving the park, I noticed someone familiar in the crowd. Or maybe it was just my imagination. Really, what would she be doing here alone? Did something happen, Nico-kun? Huh? No, nothing. You look like you just seen a ghost. You think one couldn't follow us from the haunted house? I didn't want to remember what had happened there. That place is stupid, I told you. I agree. For the last hour, Himitsu has been trying her hardest to pretend nothing had happened. She almost managed to convince me of it. Let's use the subway. I'm tired. As you wish, my lady. Watching Himitsu drag the pink elephant was quite amusing. Too bad we can't actually see the CG on this one. I mean, that could be the best moment in gaming, I would say. Visual novel gaming, to be specific. But yeah, I mean, does it matter? I stood there and observed until the door closed behind her. The rest of the day promised to be boring. Himitsu hadn't made lunch for her dad, but definitely couldn't ignore dinner. So I was about to spend today's evening alone. But for some reason, I wasn't as upset by this fact as it could have been. After all, today wasn't all that bad. I leisurely walked through my yard, whistling some catchy tune from an anime. Oh wait, what's this? Huh. Alright. Opened the door and found a piece of paper under it. A note. Oh, please, don't tell me this is another death note from them. Just maybe a normal note. I wanted a normal note on this one. All the worries and fears came rushing back in a single moment, and I froze in place, unable to move. It immediately felt like hundreds of eyes were watching me, attentive, cold gazes from twilight that were piercing me down to the bone. But determination suddenly returned to me, and the silent observers disappeared as quickly as they came. I bent down and picked up the note. It was in English. Nikolai, I thought you wanted to talk, but I guess you didn't really. I'll be waiting for you in the bar until 8 p.m. C. Catherine. I cast a quick glance at the clock. It was 7:45, so it was Catherine's note. Huh. Alright. That sounds conventional, I would say, but yeah. The pleasant memories of the day spent with Himitsu melted away so quickly it was strange. I only had 15 minutes left, and getting to the bar would take at least 20. That is if I walked. So you ran. Nice. I rushed through the streets, nimbly dodging people and cars. I've never been in a bad shape, but now my lungs barely seem to fill with enough air. My vision dimmed and I almost got myself run over a couple of times. Could it really be that simple? So many times in the past year and a half that I'd been telling myself that if Catherine were to return, I'd have the self-respect not to come running at her first call like a little puppy. I didn't care the slightest why exactly she came today, why she was waiting for me at the bar. The cruelest thing anyone can do to another human being is give them false hope. But at the same time, hope is intoxicating. It makes all thoughts of worry and common sense lose importance. Somewhere deep inside, I felt sorry for myself, disgusted by my own spinelessness and lack of character. But that was nothing more than the introspection of a junkie between doses. Just yesterday, he had been telling himself he'd be able to kick the habit, and today, all he could think of was the drug. Just recently, it seemed to me that it was all over, that I would be able to let go and forget. But all I needed to slip again was the smallest thing, a tiny piece of paper folded in two, and a couple simple words. Again and again, I imagined Catherine say it. I don't particularly want to, but if you insist, we could as well talk. A favor, indifference, and at the same time, arrogance and superiority. The less we show our love to a woman, the easier she is to win, was it? Oh, it's from Pushkin novels. Alright. I guess it worked the other way around too. Finally, I stood at the doors of the familiar bar, greedily gasping for air and trying to catch my breath. Why would she even choose this place? I definitely couldn't show up there looking like that. I had to spruce myself up. It wasn't even about self-respect, just common decency. And not to mention, this way I'd have a better chance. Large drops of sweat, Large drops of sweat were running down my face and a giant wet spot on my shirt would dry up in a minute. Could I possibly look any more pitiful? Begrudgingly, I entered. Oh look, customer. Nice. Excuse me. It was pretty empty inside. The clouds of smoke usual for a Saturday evening didn't hover at the ceiling. Only several visitors were nestled in the far corner. Oi, Kolya! The bartender called out to me, idly wiping glasses at the counter. Catherine was nowhere to be seen. What time is it? 8? I mean exactly. It's 8. 3 minutes past. Why? He asked, surprised. Nothing, no. I was just 3 minutes late. Sure, it would be stupid to think Katja left at exactly 8 o'clock, but even if she did, she'd need some time to get out the bar and walk far enough. Was Catherine here? I had already caught my breath, but my voice still sounded ragged. Kolya, are you alright? Just answer the question. Well... He put the glass aside and walked closer to me. She was. I spent 20 or so minutes sitting here and then left. What? Yeah, I found it strange too. No, I mean, when was that? About 3 hours ago. So it was all a lie? The note, the promise to wait until 8? Although, hadn't I made the promise of myself? Did she say anything? No. And what about you? What about me? He stared at me uncomprehendingly. Nothing. Forget it. Do you want to tell me what this is all about? The bartender poured a mug of beer and put it in right in front of me. On the house. And not today. I carefully moved the mug away. Shit's fucked, is it? Guess so. Somewhere deep inside, I knew that the ostensible sympathy from the bartender was nothing more than a skillful act perfected over years of work. But at the same time, now more than ever, I needed support. What was this on Catherine's part? A mockery? A joke? Did she just change her mind? Was it really important? I looked into the bartender's eyes and, for some reason, smiled. I'll go. Well, alright. Take care. In the 5 minutes I had spent in the bar, it grew totally dark outside. The steam coming out of my mouth hinted it was time to get my winter clothes down from the loft. Maybe I should have gotten myself a drink. At least I'd be warmer. I smirked under my breath. It was that feeling when you're too tired of bearing with the pain and an internal defense mechanism activates, suppressing all emotion. And now I was absolutely sure I wouldn't be running after Catherine anymore. Moreover, I didn't know what and why even happened today. Must have been a temporary mind haze. I reached home on autopilot, thinking neither about the past day nor Kachap. My windows were alight. It had to be Himitsu. I was even somewhat glad. At least with her things were simpler. I opened the door with my keys. For some reason Himitsu had locked herself inside, which was weird. Hi, I said nonchalantly, entering the kitchen. She was sitting on a chair, her back end naturally straight, looking at the painting on the wall. I don't even remember where it's from, Himitsu said melancholically. Mom and Dad brought it along from Russia. She didn't react. Why? No reason. It's just a beautiful painting. The Russian scenery. I always wondered how it feels to be there. I thought maybe we could go there together one day, you and I. You would show me your old home. We would walk through the forest and fields, just like in this painting. We will. And no reason not to. Himitsu was acting unnaturally, and wasn't even trying to hide it. I don't think it'll work out. Not anymore. Why? She finally tore herself away from the painting and looked at me. Because I'll need to study. Yeah, reasonable. Himitsu suddenly smiled and continued. And so will you. As if I would. But there will be breaks. We can go for a trip then. Maybe. Anyway, time for dinner now. I cast a look at the painting. I honestly had no idea what was depicted on it. A place in the real world or a piece of the artist's imagination. Does it really matter if people like it? At least Himitsu did. She even wanted to go there. When is dinner? Himitsu wasn't herself. She didn't ask where I'd been, even though by the looks of it she had been waiting for me for a while. Alright. Himitsu said, proudly putting a plate with baked potatoes and a steak in front of me. To what do I owe the honor? I know you like this stuff, so I just decided to make it. I do, sure, but you don't usually... I mean, you prefer healthy food. It's okay to treat yourself sometimes. You did win me the elephant today. Oh, right, the elephant. Yeah, the giant pink one. Oh yeah, I remember that one. Himitsu, where did you put it? In my room. I wanted to put it on the shelf first, but There wasn't enough space, so the corner had to do. I laughed. Hey, don't hate me. Imagine how hard it must be for the proud African animal to live within four walls. It's used to the open savanna. Nico-kun. Himitsu smiled and started eating. For a while, I managed to forget about the note about Catherine. I simply enjoyed my favorite meal. And I had no desire to think about Himitsu's initial weird behavior. How are things at home? Everything's fine. Why? Well, you did skip lunch. It's okay, sometimes. Didn't you say so yourself? Why wasn't she asking where I had been? Maybe there's something else? Himitsu took a moment to think. Not really. Everything's fine. Was I working myself up over nothing? Maybe she didn't notice anything? Who could know what I was off doing? Maybe I was saving the world. Okay, I guess. Any plans for tomorrow? Of course. Tomorrow's our big autumn cleanup. Huh, really? Okay then, come whenever you want. I was talking about myself actually. We're cleaning in my house. Of course. I grew somewhat embarrassed. I'll clean up too, then. Himitsu giggled. There goes her smug face. You? Clean? Don't worry. I'll deal with it next week. Alright, if you say so. I suddenly felt uneasy around her. Because I was hiding a new note from Catherine and there was clearly something wrong with Himitsu. At the same time, dinner was on the table and she was smiling, which made me even more uneasy. Cleaning is a responsible task. It requires a good night's sleep. The two of us have gotten tired enough today already. I'm not tired at all. Okay. What do you want to do then? And what about you? Go to sleep, to be honest. Alright, let's sleep then. Didn't you say you weren't tired? Well, if that's what you want. Okay, I guess. I stood up, but Himitsu remained in place, looking at me expectantly. Worrying thoughts started to sprout up my mind. Should I see you safely home? I'll be sleeping with you. She replied calmly. Himitsu, you're scaring me. Stop that. A nervous giggle escaped my lips, and I took a titanic effort not to take a step back. Where did you go today, Nico-kun? What? To the amusement park, with you. Don't you remember? And after that, I was... home. I stammered out. The whole time? Yeah. Then where did you run off to? The calmness of Himitsu's voice as she said all that was making me feel genuinely scared. After her? After who? I didn't run after anyone. She didn't respond, just kept glaring at me. I realized it was useless to keep denying it. Were you watching me? I don't need to watch you. I know you too well. But then how? I looked out the window and saw you find a note and then run off somewhere. So you were watching me after all. Think whatever you want. She gave a short reply and stood up from the chair. It's none of your business in the first place. Oh, that's how you talk now. Himitsu tried to appear strong to make me understand what she was really upset. Naturally, she had the best possible intention was doing it out of concern for me. Maybe someone else would have believed it, but not me. I didn't feel guilty, I just couldn't, and not after everything that had happened. I was trapped, as if being torn apart from the inside of two opposite forces. I'm tired. I sat down on the chair next to Himitsu and let out a helpless sigh, burying my head in my hands. Leave me alone, all of you. At least for today. Nico-kun. Her voice was as cold as before, but notes of sadness could be heard in it. Nico-kun, I worry about you. You can't keep up like this. She's hurt us so much. Us. What a truly curious choice of words. Just forget her. Is it really that hard? Of course it's hard. I whispered quietly. A couple hours ago, I wanted to talk to someone, but the bartender certainly wasn't fit for this conversation. Could Himitsu be? Previously, I'd done everything I could to make sure the thought of my relationship with Catherine never crossed her mind. Maybe even impossible. But now, I'd been driven into a corner, and there wasn't anyone else nearby. I didn't want to see anyone else nearby. I can help, if you want me to. She approached and embraced me. It'll all be alright. I'm here. I hugged her back and pressed her close. I was serious. If you want it. What are you talking about? Well, sleeping. I couldn't see her face, but was sure she blushed through the roots of her hair. Do you really think that by doing that, you'd be able to replace Catherine? Wait, Nikolai, what are you referring to? What Himitsu is referring to you? I don't want to replace anyone. She pushed me away slightly and took a step back. Nico-kun, it just hurts me that you've done it so many times with her, and you do it now, but you don't want to do it with me. Would do it now. If Catherine were in Himitsu's place now, would I be able to resist? I mean, Nikolai, what is she referring to? I need to know, come on. But what did it matter? As if sex was the... Oh no, that's not a solution, alright? That's not a fucking solution to that problem. As if sex was the only reason I fell in love with Katja. Do you really think sex is what's most important here? That it was the only reason we're together? Maybe you think that I can't love you just because we haven't done it? That's what you think about me, huh? I couldn't stop. Her words genuinely upset me. Was it because there was some truth to them? That's not what I meant at all. Nico-kun, sorry. Himitsu burst into tears. Alright. It's fine. I stood up and hugged her carefully. It just seemed like you believe sex would solve all our problems. She didn't say anything and just kept sobbing. Hang on. You'll be fine. You don't really believe that, do you? Himitsu jerked her head from side to side. That's good. Sometimes, even the people closest to each other should have some time apart to think things over. Now, before we continue, I would like to talk something about what he mentioned before, alright? Yeah, you might not be able to resist the urge feeling of having sex with someone you're close to or a person that you really love to. But in terms of this, it's not the possible solution to your problem. I mean, yeah, you can actually resist the urge or the feelings that, you know, being horny, I would say. But if we'd like to talk something morally, that's not the possible solution to this problem. I mean, in order for you to reconcile, but at the same time to accept what just happened and also to forget everything what happened from the past, is you need someone to talk to who are willing to trust you, at the same time listen to all your problems and willing to help you no matter how hard it might be. Now, I actually had one friend before, and I almost forgot his name, and he had a lot of problems in his life, and not to mention his relationship with the girl that she really loved most. And the only way that I can give an advice to him is, you know what, I don't know if this might be helpful, but the only way for you to get things straight at the same time to make your relationship go back to the proper order again is reconcile, have a closure conversation with each other. At the same time, you have to let out everything that what you have felt for a long time, no matter how large or small that is. You need someone to talk to. You need someone who are willing to listen to you. I mean, you have friends, you have families, you have classmates, you have a lover or something. Those are the only person that is willing to listen to all the problems that you have. But in regards to this one, sex is not the answer to this problem, alright? So whatever you do, look for someone who can talk, who are able to listen to your problems at the same time, the feelings that you have that you wanted to really let out, as a way to, you know, to light things up from your chest, I would say, to make things not worse as you progresses to your journey as you get older and older. But those are just my opinion. I don't know. Let me know, guys, about your thoughts about this one in the comment section below. I don't know if my advice could be really helpful for that one, but I'm a person with a lot of experience before, but I'm too pretty sure that this could be helpful to you guys who are also dealing this kind of problem. Anyway, Himitsu, head pat. And what could we even want to talk about in this situation? So, see you tomorrow. Cleaning, she mumbled. Fine, then see you on Monday. Himitsu said nothing and walked out of the kitchen, her eyes glued to the floor. I sunk into the chair and waited until the front door closed after her. God, things could have gone so differently. Really, why couldn't I have sex with Himitsu? In fact, you can't resist it, but in terms of morally, just don't. Don't, alright? Just don't. Putting aside all the moralizing about it having to be between two people who love each other, what if it would solve all our problems? And what if it hadn't? Then Himitsu would definitely start to hate me. I find it true, but I think it's the only way to reconcile at the same time, to accept the situation that you were dealing with right now. I mean, I don't know, alright? I don't know. I just mentioned everything about what I said earlier ago. But, yeah. Those are just basically my advice about the experience that I have done some from the past. And that would be something I could never forgive myself for. Tokyo was sleeping, paying no attention to my problems. This night, the multi-million-person metropolis felt absolutely lifeless. Even the street lamps seemed to have dimmed their lights. Trying not to wake up the sleeping inhabitants, I was lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling. I looked around the room a couple times. Something was wrong. Out of place, maybe. Or something was missing. It was hard to figure out what exactly was the matter in the dark, but after a while it dawned on me that the letter wasn't on the table. Had Himitsu taken it? Like I cared. Winter is better than summer. There's no salvation from heat, but you can't escape the cold via a warm sweater and a traditional Japanese kotatsu. We will make a snowman, light up the Christmas tree lamp, eat tangerines, and Russian salad. Ooh, what's this? Usually made of diced boiled potatoes, carrots, burnt dill pickles, cucumber, green peas, eggs, celery, onions, boiled chicken, bologna sausage, ham, hot dogs, charred apples with salt, pepper, mustard, and mayonnaise. Maybe I could try that one day. Yeah, if only I could find one somewhere here in my country. And early in the morning, we'd run to look what presents Father Frost brought us. I mean, you meant Santa Claus or something? Yeah. Yeah, it is Santa Claus. If only things were as simple now as they were when we were little. I hadn't wanted to grow up, but hadn't asked for all these problems and complications. Why did everyone else, Kyosuke, Michael, even Sai-chan, live the lives of normal teenagers while mine resembled some kind of melodrama with elements of tragedy? How would our fates have turned out had my parents not decided to emigrate from the USSR, I wondered. They would probably still be alive. And both Himitsu and Catherine probably wouldn't be happier. Which meant it was all my fault. Catharsis, the redemption through suffering, was, I guess, the only thing that really helped me. I drove my flagellating introspection to its highest point, convicted myself of all the mortal sins, served as the judge, the prosecutor, and the jury, and found myself guilty. And only after that did I manage to fall asleep. Whew, no, that is actually a long one. Not to mention the events happened earlier right now. Like, oh my god. That is not the best solution for that kind of problem. Alright, September 13, 1987. Alright, so wait, am I recording? Yeah, it's almost 1 hour, past 1 hour to be specific. But yeah, I guess I gotta save this part up for the next episode. I guess on the eighth one. But yeah, that's pretty much anything about it on this today's video, I would say. But yeah, that's it for the seventh episode of Love Money Rock and Roll series. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. And if you haven't watched all the following episodes that I have in this series, the video link will be in the description below, or maybe just go ahead and click at the top right corner on your screen. And yep, that's pretty much anything about it. So I hope that I can make a comeback with this one, since I haven't made any new episodes so far. And yeah, same goes with Genshin. Still, I have issues with that one, but time will come. Time will tell with that one. And yeah, and that's it for everything. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Have a good night, take care, and stay safe.